This is just so ridiculously tender. Now you can come in there and you can just take off the end, slice away on there some of that apple cider gravy. Hi everyone, welcome to Backyard Chef. I'm Rick. Today an apple and sage stuffed pork loin roast. Sounds complicated, it's not, it's delicious, and it will turn this pork loin, which is just under a kilo, about 980 grams, so we'll call it a kilo. It'll turn this pork loin roast into a fantastic succulent roast pork dish. Okay, it's nice and straightforward. We have to make a stuffing first so we can stuff the pork loin. I'm going to stuff it with apple. I'm going to put on some roast veg. We're going to make some roast taties. So we're going to parboil the taties for 8 minutes. I'll shove that on behind me and we'll crack on with the stuffing. Now potatoes. I've got these potatoes and I've given them a really good scrubbing actually. And all we're going to do is that. We're going to leave the skins on. So that's it. That's all potatoes. Easy as that. We're going to grab a pan with some water. I'm going to dump those in with some salt. And we're going to bring it up to the boil for 8 minutes only. So in there, salt. Right, I'm going to chuck that on behind me. So we'll keep the board because we need to sort the apples out. Right, grab yourself a cooker or get on your cooker. Pan on. A little bit of butter because we're making a stuffing. Now you can use oil, not a problem. But we want to be cooking off our onion. Don't hang around in there with your onion. Now you don't have to have your flame so high. A little bit of salt in there, draw out that moisture. You can go in there with a little bit of pepper now if you want, like I will, and then we'll add some in a minute. So it's nice and steady, look. A little saute on those onions, take out that rawness, a little bit of colour, not a problem. Now some folks get flustered over a roast dinner. This is an easy one. The only thing is with this, we are going to tie that pork loin. We're not using no fancy knots. We're going to just tie it round or twist it round. It doesn't matter. We're stuffing it. We're not stuffing it the same as everybody else. Slits it all open, stuffs it all up and ties it up. We are going to put slits in there about 2 centimetre gap and stuff it. That means then we get a nice 2 centimetre thick slice of pork. So if you want to slice it all up, not a problem. If you want to a 2-inch slice, slab of pork on your plate, perfectly cooked, tender, moist pork, roasted. And what we'll do is we'll roast some apples, carrots and sprouts. In here, breadcrumbs, panko style breadcrumbs, and I'm just going to chuck in about 2 tablespoons of water. And if there's a little bit more, so be it. Just give that a little stir in. Now to this we want to put a little bit of a seasoning together. We want a little bit of dried thyme, and we want to be going in there with some sage. Now if you can use fresh sage, fantastic. If you can't, just do what I'm doing. Little bloom on those herbs in there. It does not have to be much. Flame off. There you go. That's our onions. We are adding that to our breadcrumbs in there. I'm going to give that a mix in. Now we really want this to be cool a little bit to handle it, but we're not worried if it's a little bit warm. It'll cool down quick enough by the time we've peeled and sliced the apples. Now we're not trying for a wet type of stuffing mix for this, okay? A dry stuffing mix. It's going to take on the juices of the meat and the apple as we're cooking away. So there you go, we've got that. Okay, we need to peel and slice our apple. Now I've got these old ones and I've got a couple of new ones. So let's just see what we get, yeah? Straight in there. Let's get that rough skin off there. Now you can leave the skin on if you so wish. Of course you can. That is up to you. The skins on these old apples are not very good, as you can see. They're coming off. Now for the apple, you only need one apple really for the slices to go inside the pork. We got a kilo piece of pork there. So it is quite big, but you know, it will do the job. So we want some slices to go in there, and we want reasonable slices. Don't go too thin. It's going to be packed in around the stuffing. Okay, that will do nicely. And what we'll do, we'll chuck some more apple in with the veggies. We'll have some roast apple. It's not going to be an apple sauce, but we're going to have the roast apple to go with the pork. Okay, our pork loin. Let's just chuck this apple in here actually, come on. So our pork loin then on there. Make sure you've got your oven on at 190. Okay, right, what we're going to do, we're not going to slit it all open and roll it all up. We're actually going to stuff the pork loin top. Now you need to be looking at about 2 centimetre gaps. Somewhere around about there, like that. Okay, so where you've come in like that, knife in there, but don't go all the way to the bottom. Okay, just in there like that. Now if it does go to the bottom, don't worry. Okay, so we're in there, look, as you can see, look. This is how we are going to stuff this pork. Okay, this makes this job so much easier than stuffing and rolling. Let's not make it complicated. Okay, look, we're stuffing this, okay? These cavities we've just made. Okay, we're stuffing it with the stuffing first. Any old out in there, just get it in and stuff it right down. And then we're going to put apple in. Okay, now don't worry about it, just get it in there. You can hear our potatoes starting to boil. They want about 8 minutes. Now don't worry about putting the stuffing back in there, it's all going to be cooked. So just get that off there and into there, and there'll be a load more in a minute when we start tying it, because it all falls out. But let's not worry about that, we can sort it. Okay, so stuff that in there the best you can. Right, then you take your apple, okay, and your apple goes in there. It doesn't matter how you get it in. You know, you can go just straight in, you can go either side of the stuffing, just get the apple in. That's going to give us moisture, it's going to give us flavour. Just get it in there. Here comes the hard job. It depends how hard you want to make it, actually. You know, you want some string. We're not going to make it that hard. Come on. Nothing hard on this channel. You can tie it any which way you want. It does not matter. Okay. So you can tie a little slip knot in the end of there if you so wish. And basically that is just over like that. And that will slide. Okay, we want to tie this up. And it's no more than, let's have that under there. Like that. Okay, let's pull that little slip knot. Now you can tie this underneath, over the top. It's irrelevant. Okay, just hold that like that. Nothing complicated. Put a twist in your string. And now I'm trying to do it really slowly. We're going to probably make a right mess of it. Okay, there you go, look. Oh, we don't want to come inside there. We want to go on top of that piece of pork there. We're not bothered about tying it inside. If it drops inside, so be it. Okay, so again, twist round. Oh, on camera, in there. Okay, and then turn that over, and it doesn't matter how you do it, you just threading up your string like that. You can miss some out if you want, it doesn't matter. Okay, we just want that same style of knot we've just tied on the other side on this side. Okay, round there like that. Turn it back over and then bring it back through there, and it doesn't matter how you tie it off. Come on, just get it tied off. That's our tied piece of pork. As easy as that. Okay, now we've got a bit of a mess going on here, but that is going back in there. Okay, we're going to put a little bit of olive oil in there, and we're going to put some over the meat. Put that in there. Let's just clear this away. Come on. Okay, we've got that lovely rolled joint there. A little bit of oil on there. A little bit of salt. A little bit of pepper. And some sage. Whack that in the oven for about an hour and a half. Drain those potatoes and then they'll be good to go. So there's nothing complicated to this. We're going to chop some apple and we're going to put it in. I've got a few sprouts in here and some carrots. We will just peel these apples and we're going to throw them in there. I'm going to make a decision where the potatoes are going. They might be going around the meat or they might be going in here. In a second, when they've cooled down a little bit, I'm going to chuck them in oil, a little bit of rosemary salt. I'm going to leave them in the bowl. We've got that going on in there for about an hour and a half, something like that. We're going to shove this stuffing in a little tin, put some butter on it, and that can go into roast alongside there. Veggies, we're going to chuck them in probably 40 minutes. Okay, they're all going in about 40 minutes. So that's an hour and a half. Knock off your 40 minutes. Okay, you want to be shoving these in. So what we're going to do is take our stuff in and fill that little tub. And then what you do is take a little bit of butter on there. It doesn't matter if the butter melts into the stuffing, it's going to melt anyway. Okay, so now you're prepped. That's our potatoes. We're just going to prep them up now. We're going to cover them in oil and they are ready to go. All we got to do is do some apples. Chuck them in here. Okay, before we pull our meat out of the oven to put the potatoes around, we're just going to put a little bit of olive oil in there, look. And just a little bit of salt on those sprouts. That gets that. That is going in there alongside. And what we're going to do is shove this in the oven. And this is going to cook for about 40 minutes. So what we're going to do is just chuck in a little bit of apple as well and let that cook in there. Right, we're ready to go on the veg. That's coming along quite nicely, look. Now you can baste the top of there if you so wish, just to keep that lovely and moist on there. Bit of colour as well, it'll cook off. Okay, we got that done. We need to put our potatoes in there. So just drop them in any old hour around there. Some of them are going to break up because they're a bit soft after being stood around in there. So we'll get those in and get them roasting. So we're going to keep it simple and just chuck it all back in the oven. Come on. That's it, let it do its thing. While that's cooking away in there, we can actually make a bit of a cider gravy. Now, ideally, it would be better to put the meat juices in, and we can probably take some of that afterwards and stir it in. But I'll make the cider gravy now and you can see what's going on. In there, some butter. So we're giving it a little stir in and we're going to go in with a couple of tablespoons of flour. So in we go. Just cook out that rawness of that flour. Not too high the flame. Nice and steady. Crack open a bottle of cider. Nice little stir on there. Smells like that rawness has gone. In there, a little bit of stock. Nice little stir on. Oh, that's thickening up. Cider drink. We're making a cider gravy. There you go. In it goes, all of it. Stir it in. It'll start to thicken. We're not going to worry about that. It's got the flour in, it will thicken it up. Whoa, look at those bubbles. Want about a teaspoon of Dijon in there. A little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, and we're just going to give it a stir in. And that is a nice cider gravy. Now what you can do is you can stir in some apple sauce or apple jelly or even a little bit of honey, anything like that. Even maple syrup. Just a little bit of sweetness in there, to, you know, like it's like that apple sweetness. That's a beautiful gravy there. Now what you can do is when you've cooked your meat, you can chip the meat juices in if you want. And just stir it through and thicken it up in there with the meat juices. That is a beautiful, beautiful cider gravy right there. So I'm going in there with a little bit of apple sauce, straight out of the jar, come on. And that gives us a fantastic, wonderful apple cider gravy. There you go. That is beautiful. Okay, we need to be pulling that meat and covering it. Give the potatoes a stir. Give the veggies a stir. And we'll have another 10 minutes on there, I think. So let's be pulling that meat out onto there. That's looking fine. On there with some foil. Just give that a little bit of resting time. Stir up those potatoes and chuck those back in. Come on. Have a look at your veggies. Veggies are looking good enough. Oh yeah. Now stir up. Back in for 10. So everything's smelling wonderful. I've decided to pull the pork out and rest it. That'll be fine. These are going to get another 10 minutes in there. And we're at the moment we're 5 minutes short of the time that we set off in there. Now your timings could be completely different with the size of the huge ovens you have at home. This is only a desktop, you know, come on. A countertop oven, so that little space in there, everything works out okay for me. You might have to adjust. Okay, 10 minutes and we cut the meat and we serve everything up. Roast dinner. We want to be pulling all this together, so let's get that off there. Wow, there's some heat there, look. Right, what we need to do is cut the string. Okay, I need to be showing you this before we actually put it all together. Now, we don't need that thing. Come on. All I need is a fork. This is just so ridiculously tender. Now, you can come in there and you can just take off the end, slice away. I mean, it's just falling apart. Or you can come through to where you've stuffed it. So what we need to do is just come through there, like that, and then come through the next meat joint. Come all the way down, and then what you've got a fantastic piece of pork with the stuffing and the apple in there. So you can put that on your plate. Come on there, some potatoes. That fabulous piece of meat on there. That huge piece. Now you wouldn't normally do that, but come on. Some of those sprouts. Some carrots. Take a little bit of that baked apple. A little bit of that extra stuffing on there. Oh, and some of that apple cider gravy on there. Come on. I promise you, really tender pork. Look at this. This is a butter knife, look. There's no blade on here. Look at that. Oh. That is off the charts. That is a fantastic roast. That apple cider gravy is delicious. We've got our stuffing. Got some veggies. Who doesn't love a roast dinner? Oh, come on. There you go. If you like what we're doing, don't forget to share with your friends. Tell them how easy it is to stuff a pork loin. So easy. Apple and sage in there. Moist pork all the way through. And if you like what we're doing, big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell. We'll catch you in the next video. That is off the charts.